Okay, good morning everybody. This webinar is TPP Online 101, just some basic information to get you started using the TPP Online version. Whenever you go to the website, tpp.ghin.com, this is the homepage. This is what you're going to come to. I'm going to explain what each one of these blue buttons means. If you want to log in once you get here and go straight into working on your tournament, it's right here under this administration button. We'll come back to that one because that's how we're going to get into the TPP Online program here in a couple of minutes. But I want to explain some of the bells and whistles with the web version. So the first one is this golfer registration button that you see. The golfer registration button, I'll show you what that looks like when they click on it. It's set up to where you can actually go in and set up your events, and then you can provide this tpp.ghin.com website to any of your members at your club, and they can come in here and they'll come right up here in the top corner and they'll click on this login sign up and they'll create themselves a username and a password or an account. And what will happen then is the TPP Online program will recognize their GHIN number as a member at your club. So you can control what events they see and what events that they can sign up for if you're interested in using this feature. There's a lot of bells and whistles with TPP Online. You can use them or not. It's completely up to each individual club. But this one, so you would set up, let's use Men's League as an example. You'd set up 10 weeks worth of Men's League. And if I logged in as John Doe, I would see this week, this week, this week, and I could just click, 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 click on whichever ones that I was available for and not enter the ones that I'm not. And all that does is it automatically puts me into that event, and then once you're in the event, you get to control when they can't enter anymore and the last time that they can withdraw themselves. So for instance, maybe 3 days before the event, you'd say, okay, no more, you can't withdraw yourself. If you want to withdraw, you have to call the pro shop type of thing. Okay? So now, the next thing I want to go over, let's go back to our home screen here. The next one is the scoring results. Now there's two things that happen under the scoring results. The first one is you can create a widget, a scoring widget for your website. And it's about 2 inches by 4 inches, and it would say, for instance, men's championship, and it would list maybe the top 3 people of a live leaderboard, and then it would say, click here for full leaderboard. Now, a lot of people on their website may not have room for 2 to 4 inches space. So another thing that you can do with this scoring results is you can come in here and you can set up where you can use this web address up here, and we can create a hyperlink on your website. So for instance, maybe it says, we say something on your website, men's championship, click here for pairings and results. And we would just hyperlink in this address right up here in my address bar, and this is what it would come to. So if they clicked on that, they just come right here, and then what are they looking for? If they want to see some results, they just click here on stroke play results, and the screen would load, and it would show them the live leaderboard. It'll show them their tee time until an actual score has been input. Okay, that's what happens under the scoring results. The next one is the TPP viewer. My next webinar is actually going to cover everything about TPP viewer because there are some little setup features that you need to know before you use this. But this little fun thing is you can create a live leaderboard on your computer, maybe a laptop, and then what you can do is you can broadcast that leaderboard up onto a screen using a projector. You could connect a laptop with like maybe an HDMI cable to the back of a TV, and you could use it, put it on a big screen TV. Or maybe if your club is fortunate to have maybe an area, a men's grill, or maybe a banquet room that has a lot of TVs, most of those TVs are usually connected into one central location, and you can connect a laptop or a tablet into that central location as well. to be able to broadcast this. One other feature that I wanted to talk about is, I don't know how many of you use Netflix at home, but sometimes people will use Netflix, they'll use that little Chromecast device. And you can buy one of those and you can use that with the TPP program as well. You just open a tab that would have this rolling leaderboard that I have right now going, and then broadcast that tab. And that's what the TV would show. One thing about the leaderboard that we'll go over in the next webinar, but just to give you some heads up, I just picked one that has 5 names because I don't have very many people in my event. There are probably 10 different styles of leaderboards to choose from, and you can change the background. They have some already preloaded backgrounds, which is what this one is. But you can load a picture of your club if you'd like, but I would recommend that you do that beforehand because I haven't loaded a picture yet that I didn't have to tinker with size-wise to make it look correct when it gets broadcast up onto a TV or up onto a projection screen. So that's all I've got for now for TPP Online. And then the last thing I want to go over is the on-course scoring. TPP Online gives you the ability to, for instance, you could be having one of your big championships and you could have some people, whether that's your staff members or maybe some volunteers, you could have some people put around the golf course, and if they could, as the golfer passes them, they would just take the scores and then they would just use their cell phone to input the scores into your TPP Online. So you would just give them the website, tpp.ghin.com. You'll create them a user, and I'll show you how to do that here in a couple of minutes. They would come right in here to the on-course scoring. They'll select the event that they're scoring for you. Then you just have to answer a few questions. So are you walking? Are you stationary? Are you greenside? Are you just roaming around grabbing scores as you go? Normally it's a station. So we'll say that this particular individual that's going to do this scoring, let's say that he is on the 6th green. So he's going to take scores from hole 1 through hole 6. And once you get this set up like you need it, you just come right over here in the bottom left-hand corner and you hit this begin scoring. And here's what it would look like. So the first person, since this was a tee time event, not shotgun, the first person that comes by is Mike Allen. So on hole number 1, you would say he had a 4. On hole number 2, he had a 4. And you would just click in all of his scores. And when you get done with that, you just come over here and hit this post scores button, and they're automatically in your TPP. So if you're broadcasting this, number 1, through your website or up onto a TV screen, the people would start seeing those scores that have been posted. And I think one good thing to kind of have as a caveat to all your golfers is just have them keep in mind that they may be checking the scores on their phone using this, but no score is official until the scorecard has actually been turned into the golf shop staff and they have verified what the scores are. So that is all of the bells and whistles here from the home page. I'm going to go ahead and click on the administration button now so that we can go straight into our tournament that I have set up. So here's just a little fake one. I called it TPP Online 101 webinar. This is what they'll start looking at when you log in, when you click on administration and you log in. This will be the first page that comes up, and it'll say select a tournament, just like it did in the old TPP program. Okay? And before I get into that, I want to go over just a couple of administration things for you. So the top button here is administration, and right here is where you'd come in here and set up your users. And as you can see, I've set myself up here. But if I wanted to add somebody else, and I would recommend that each golf shop adds in a username and a password for each one of the golf shop staff members that you want to have access to this. Don't make it generic for the golf course, because if someone leaves your golf shop, you want to be able to come in here and delete them out of your TPP program. Since it is a website, they could just access it from any place. Okay? So you just set up a username, password. You have to have a first name, you have to have a last name, and you have to have an email. Now, if you notice here under the levels, there's 4 different levels. Read only is exactly what it is. They can look at anything, but they can't touch anything. The read write gives them the ability where they can look at anything, and they can print reports, but that's it. They really can't touch anything. The two levels that will let you create a tournament is the create and the administrator. Now, if you set one of your staff members up under the create level, just remember that the only tournaments they're going to be able to see are the ones that they've created. So if I'm in as an administrator, they will not be able to see my events. So it usually works out best if your golf shop staff, you put everybody in as an administrator so everybody can see all the different tournaments like you've been used to seeing now. However, let's say you have a men's association or a ladies association and you've decided to give them access. You might want to put them in as a create so that they don't have access to everything. Okay? So that's how you set up your users. One other thing under administration is seasons. Now, the reason that that is in here is that your local computer or your local servers won't hold this TPP database anymore. This database, since it's a website, this database is being held in Golf House in New Jersey. So as time goes by, you'll have hundreds of tournaments on this server. So I would recommend, think of seasons kind of as a file cabinet. I've set up just these two to get me going, but I set up a 2015 and a 2016 because when I get to 2016, I don't want to have to look at my 100 or however many tournaments from 2015 to find the one I'm working on. I just select the 2016 season and here's my tournaments. My 2015 tournaments are still in there. I can still go back and look at them if I need to see something from them, but I don't have to look through every one of them. The other thing under our maintenance is, if we go over here under course, under course, you'll see that I have input everybody's course for them. Now I just pulled in a couple for this little fake tournament so I could show you, but for your course, you would see your course listed over here, and then over here to the right, you'll see tees. If you click on the tees, you'll see that I've pulled in, now on yours it would have all the men's tees and all the women's tees pulled in. I pulled that information from the course rating program, and the reason I tell you that is each one of the tees will have a scorecard over here. If you click on the scorecard, I need you to go in and verify that the yardage and the par is what you have on your scorecards in your golf shop. With that coming from the course rating program, those yardages may not be exactly what you have on your scorecard. And I know that the par probably won't be correct because course rating doesn't care anything about par. If it's a certain yardage, it just assigns it a par. And you and I both know that sometimes a hole that's 450 yards will be a par 5 at a golf course, not a par 4. Okay? And then absolutely put in all of your handicap allocation holes so that when you go to print your cards, they'll dot correctly. That's just a little bit of maintenance that you'll want to do. The other thing that I want to show you is right here under Other. And remember I talked to you about the on-course scoring, that you would need to set up your on-course users. And this is how you do that. Now I have myself in here. The TPP viewer and the on-course scoring all goes under this login that you create right here. Okay? So you'll have one login to get into TPP and one login to get into your TPP viewer / on-course scoring. They can be the exact same, but you have to go through the step to set it up here because it's in a different area of the TPP program. Okay? Now, one thing I wanted to point out while we're here is if you set somebody up, okay, so let's say that myself, I'm going to help this tournament, this golf pro, do on-course scoring for an event. You can set me up with all my information. You've created my username and my password, and you've given that to me, and I know what website I'm going to. But when the event's over, you can come right in here and deactivate me. You don't have to wipe out everything. You don't have to delete me. You just deactivate me so that now I can't log in and do anything in any other tournaments. But if you want to use me again for another event, you would just come in here and activate me again. Okay? So that I like that feature that you don't have to type in everything again. The other thing I want to talk to you about is you can import any scorecard that you have edited or created in the old TPP program, as well as any reports. So I'm going to real quick open my TPP client down here, and I want to show you how to do that. It's really pretty easy. When you open your TPP client, you have to make sure you have an event open. So I just opened this little fake, I call it Shona, okay? So you come right here to scorecards, and you would click on export. And when you do that, every scorecard that I have created is right here on the left. Now, I can move all of them over with clicking the double arrow to the right, or if I'm looking for one specific one, let's say this one, that was for a college event, I can move just that single one over, okay? However you want to do that. Then the other step is right down here where it says export file name, there's a button here with the 3 dots. You just click that and tell it where do you want to save that file. And I just usually put it on my desktop because it's easy to find. I never change the name of the file and I never change the type. It's going to come as a zip folder, okay? And you'll see I have one right here that I just saved yesterday. And that's how it'll save, GHIN underscore scorecard underscore export. So we're just going to hit save. And then we come back to this screen and we hit OK, and it will save that. Now I already have one, so I'm just going to tell it that yes, I want it to overwrite. And I'm done. Okay? So while we're in here, I'm going to show you how to do the reports. It's the same feature. You'll just click on reports, export. All of the reports that you have ever created will show up on the left-hand side again. I'm just going to move all these over this time. And then down here with the button with the 3 dots, your browse button, just go out where you want to save it. Let's save it to the desktop. Here's the scorecard folder I just saved. I'm not going to change the file name. I'm not going to change the type. I'm just going to hit save and OK. And there it goes, and it tells me that it's done. Okay, now let's just verify that. With that, here they are. Here's my scorecard, and here's my report. Okay? Now, when you come into your TPP Online program, all you have to do is we have to select a tournament. So we'll just grab this one. And you'll see once I open the tournament, that opens up everything that I need to see along the left-hand side. And you'll notice that all your TPP functions are on left-based versus across the top of the screen as it was in the old program. That's so that you can use TPP Online on a tablet, on your phone, on a desktop, on a laptop, whatever device you want to, PC or Mac, it'll work, okay? So I've opened my event. Now I can come right in here to my scorecards, and I'm just going to do the reverse. I'm going to import the scorecards that I just saved. So I'll just browse, grab the file. Remember, I saved it to my desktop, and I'm looking for the scorecard one for this one, and here it is right here. So I just click on it and open, and OK. And here's the little scorecard that I wanted, and I would just hit import scorecards, and it would be in my system. I'm not going to do that because I already have this one in this TPP Online program. That's all you do is hit import scorecards. Let's look at the reports real quick. It's the same. Reports. We'll click import reports. Browse out. Go to our desktop. Here it is, the report one. Open. There it is. Hit OK. They're all listed over here on the right-hand side. And at the bottom of the screen, I would just click on import reports, and in they would come. It's that easy. That way you don't have to lose all the ones that you've edited. Now, let's talk about that for just a minute, because the only drawback to TPP Online at this moment in time is you cannot edit or design a scorecard or a report. So that's why it's going to be important for you to bring in the reports and the scorecards that you've already created, took the time to recreate in your TPP client program. If your TPP client program is not currently working, or you have a Windows 10 computer that we cannot install TPP on, the client version, the old version, then just contact me and I can make you a scorecard. It takes me usually just a couple minutes and I can drop it right in to your TPP Online program. I do that all the time, so it's no big deal for me. And as you could tell from my files in the TPP program, I have a lot of them. One thing I want to show you as we keep going is that when you come into scorecards, you'll see under scorecards and scorecard configuration, for instance, you'll see a bunch of them that I've already dropped in. And when I drop one in, if I make one for a golf course, I just go ahead and put it into everybody. So I always tag it as TGA and then what it's talking about. So for instance, this one is a 4-person with the 3 best net balls line for them, okay? It'll always say TGA. So if you see that, if you don't want it in your list, just delete it. Or if you need to make some changes to it, just call me and tell me, hey, Shona, I'm looking at this person 3 best net ball line. Can you make an alteration for me? No problem. I can easily do that. Okay. One thing I want to go over real quick. So you've set up your tournament. You come right in here, and let's look at that real quick. We'll just look at the basic setup where you can see where I set it up. This looks almost the same as the one that you have been using. You put in the name, you select the season if that's what you want to do. You'll see a commerce. There is a piece to this that you can set up a commerce gateway through network merchants to where, remember when I was talking to you about the golfer registration and they could enter your event, well, you could also let them pay for that with a credit card. Now, it's a pretty substantial fee. We use it here at the TGA just because we run so many events. It's easily the most efficient way for us to get people into our events. But I don't have anybody on the club level yet that are using the Commerce Gateway because it's just too much of a fee. But if you're interested in that, just contact me in my office and we can go over that. Okay? So in the middle section here, this is where you would set up stroke play, match play, round robin, whatever it is that you're running there. If it's more than one round, you just click on this drop down arrow, you select the round, and then it gives you another date down here that you would just change to a different date. And you would use the browse button over here to select the tee that you want to use and hit save. Okay? So now we have our tournament created. Let's talk about how we're going to get our players in there. So if you'll notice, add player and player management are all the same now. So when we click on this, if I just leave it under member, when you click on this, this will be blank. Now it's showing you the people that I currently have in this event, but when you click on it for the first time, this would all be blank down here. So just leave it on member, come right here under this search. If you hit that drop down, you'll see add players from club roster. If you click on that, it will load your membership. Now, if it's a men's event, you will only see the men. If it's a women's event, you're only going to see your female members. If it's a mixed, that's when you'll see both your men and your women that are currently members and active. And all you have to do is just check these. Okay, he's in, he's in, he's in. And then you just hit save changes, and they'll be in your event. See, they're gone off the list now. So if you wanted to see who's in your event, here they are. It's right underneath here. It's showing me I have 23 total players, 23 males, 20 of them are members, and 3 are guests. And the way that we would put in a guest, or maybe you're having an outside event, you just click here on the drop-down arrow again, and you hit manual player entry. And you get to control what's on this screen. So if you come down here to customize, you'll see all of the things that you could add in for someone. Okay? For instance, if you're doing a high school or a college event, you might want to add in a school name box if you want to have that show up on maybe on their scorecard. Okay? And here's your school name box that we added in. You don't have to, but you can. That's how you put in your guests. Once you get all your people in, if you pull them in from using your club roster right here, they're coming in with their most accurate handicap index. As you can see, this first guy that's listed here, Mike Allen, he's coming in as a plus 0.4, okay? If you've added somebody in and they're an NH, or maybe they were a guest and they're still an NH, you can come right over here to players and update handicap indexes. Everybody will be moved over here to the right, and you just click on update handicap indexes. Okay, here we go. And the handicap indexes have been updated. So anybody, we'll just go in there and test that theory. So we'll come back up here to players and add player and player management. And anybody that currently is active and does have a handicap index will now have it in here. Okay? That's pretty easy. After we do that, the teams and the flights are the exact same as they were before. You can have teams or not, or you can have flights or not. It doesn't make any difference. But once again, you always have to have pairings. So if you come in here to pairings and create stroke play pairings, this is where you're going to set it up pretty much the exact same as it was before. Round one, how are we going to pair? Well, I didn't set up teams, so teams aren't an option. I'll set it up by players. How many players do I want per group? I want to leave it at 4. I don't really care how it's pairing, how it's going to pair it, but you have all the choices that you had before. So I'll just do entry number. If you need to add any extras and you're doing the ABCD or something like that, or you want to do it by flight, there's your options for your flights. Down here is where you'll do, is it starting times or is it shotgun? I'm going to make it a shotgun so that you can see the wave assignment. And then I just hit create pairings. And there we go. Oh, I think it's mad at me because I already had pairings. So let me remove my stroke play pairings real quick. Here we go. Now I'll come back in here and it will let me create. I don't need to change anything. Everything looks pretty much like I just set it up, except I do want to have a shotgun and create. Here's my wave assignments for my shotgun. Same as it is in the old TPP client version. If you need to do a reverse, I came across a golf pro the other day that didn't realize this button was here. If you want to do a reverse shotgun to clear your first tee, it'll do it for you. Just tell it to. Say OK. And it'll create our pairings and take us right into the screen where we can see them. All right? You'll notice that everybody has a little golf cart. TPP Online does not default to a golf cart. If you go to print your cart signs and you don't see anybody, it's no problem. It's right here under players. And if you just run your cursor down, you can see all the different things that are available to you. And here's the cart caddy setup. So you just come right in here. If you want everybody to be in a cart, now this event, I've already put them in a cart, but you could easily just click right up here under cart or unclick and they go away instead of having to do everybody by hand. If you make any changes, the save button for every page is at the bottom of the page. If you don't hit save, which I've done numerous times, you'll be coming back in here to do your work again. Okay? The scorecards we've kind of already gone over. I just basically wanted to make sure that you saw that it's pretty much the exact same setup as you had in the TPP client, and I wanted to make sure that you realized that I am dropping in scorecards for you that'll be labeled TGA. Okay. Now one thing I want to show you under reports looks a little different, so let's do reports and report search. Okay. This is where it's going to come in, it's blank, but if you hit this drop down arrow under report category, this is what you're used to seeing in the previous TPP version. Okay, so for instance, let's click on pairings. Now, there are over 200 reports already created in here for you. As you can see, if I just click on pairings, There's 128 choices for me to choose from. But if you come over here under report type, you can narrow that down a little bit. For instance, let's say that I want to do my alphas, my alpha listings. I can click on round 1, and I know from being in here numerous times that it is in the 90s. So I would just click next. Right now it doesn't have a way to jump forward to the 90s. Oops. Next. And then you should, now we can start seeing them. See how the shotgun starts there? And then the next one, now you'll really start seeing some of the alphas that you're used to seeing. I would recommend that when you find one, first off, the eyeball lets you preview the report, see if it looks like what you're planning on it looking like. Okay. The arrow lets you go ahead and run that report, but the star, if you click on the star, it makes it a favorite. So as you go through different tournaments, you won't have to go through this entire list every time. You could come up here, and when you click on reports, let me show you that real quick. Reports and report search, if you click favorites, you would see all the ones that you have put a star by, so you don't have to go through 200 reports every time. You can just come right up here and click on your favorite. Now, I have been adding in reports as well. I'll show you the most area that I put the most in is here under tournament. And there was an issue with the prox markers that were already loaded in here. So you'll see right here, here's all the TGA prox marker sheets that I brought in here. I'll show you what it looks like. When they were originally loaded in, somebody put it in with a whole number. So I went in, corrected all those, and now they're blank, so you can write in the whole number. And there's 2 on each page, so you can just cut right down the middle. Okay? Okay, that's really all I have. I'm going to stop the recording.